How many times have you thought, man, I just want freedom to make my own rules? Well, congratulations. You're already thinking like an entrepreneur. But here's the thing, freedom isn't where we start, right? It's what comes after you build responsibility, resilience, and a mindset that can handle what you're asking for. Too many small business owners just want to be an employee with an opinion. You want to follow someone else's path or get instructions from them and then blame somebody else for your failures. We actually need some guidelines for what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. So today I want to break down the 5 prerequisites of being an entrepreneur. These are the things that we can work on mastering before we scale our business, before we hire a team, before trying to automate everything. And even if you're in that space where you're trying to automate, you're hiring a team, you're scaling your business, the sooner you develop these 5 areas, the better off your business is going to be. So if you ever feel like you are pushing a boulder up a hill, wondering why growth feels so hard, and you just like, man, I can't get there, you're in the right place. We're going to dig into some of that today.
Dark days, overwhelmed, trapped in a maze. Small business owner, stress had me in a daze. Every problem piled up, couldn't catch a break. Thought I couldn't make it, my dreams were at stake. But then I found a group that changed my whole perspective. Our success group of a community so effective. We all chasing that dream, sharing struggles and fears. They understood my journey, wiped away my tears. Together we broke through, we rise above. No more feeling sad, we're fueled by love. Our small business is shining, reaching new heights. With the support of our success group, we're taking flight with our words strong. The vision so clear, building our dreams with no more fear. Together we're resilient, unstoppable force. With our success group,
let's talk some business.
All right. Well, welcome into Small Business Saturdays, everybody. My name is Aaron Montgomery, and I am the author of this book here, The Fundamentals of Business Success. And these 5 prerequisites that we're going to break down here today are in the front of the book. And I want to go a little bit further than what I have in the book here. Now, before I get in, though, I do want to be clear here, be transparent. This show is recorded because actually today, a little bit later today, while this show is playing for you guys, Kylene and I will be at a local author showcase at our local library. And so I'm really excited about that, but wanted to make sure we got you this content and then reply, get it in the comments there, put information, put your perspectives, put your thoughts, questions, whatever. I always try to get in and reply to any comments. If for whatever reason you commented in the past and I didn't reply to you, go in there and tag me. Maybe I missed it. I try to catch them all, but how things go, right? We don't catch them all. So I want to keep this conversation going. All of these conversations that we're having here on Small Business Saturdays are so crucial to our success. We want to keep that going over in the Entrepreneur Success Hub Facebook group. Wherever that is, let's keep the conversations going. The more you participate, the better off you're going to be. So let's dive into this here. We've got 5 prerequisites we need, and I want to go through all 5 of those first, and then we'll come back and talk about how to cultivate those. But we always start here. The cycle of the book is always plant, prepare, and pollinate. And we do the same thing here on Small Business Saturdays. So plant is all about the mindset. So the first prerequisite that really does fall under a mindset category here is entrepreneurs make decisions quickly, right? So what does that mean? Well, you can't steer a parked car is a saying that I borrowed from my good friend Eric Campbell. But really what that means is overthinking it, right? That parked car just sitting there waiting, it's going to keep you stuck, right? I can't move it. I can't adjust courses. The train's coming at me. But if I'm not moving, I'm getting hit by that train, right? And so I need to be taking action. I need to be making decisions quickly. And the most successful business owners move first and then make adjustments. Now, let me be clear on this, though, before you guys go, oh, well, I'm just going to go knee-jerk to everything, right? We have to have a little bit of a foundation first. So it's not about reacting to everything without thought. It means that you've done the work to have clarity on who you are, your SVPs, how you're aligned to your business, what the goal is. And when you know your strengths, values, and passions, those SVPs, then decisions become obvious and we can make those decisions quickly, right? We're confident in our decisions. So let me give you a quick example here. For those of you that have been around the OSC community for a long time, know that when we started 6 years ago, it was there was a membership program, and a lot of those things were great. We shared a lot of really good content, but what I found is that we had a lot of people that were paying their monthly membership, but weren't doing anything with the content. Right? They weren't growing their business. They weren't achieving their goals. They weren't being more fulfilled. They kept saying, "Yeah, that's great, but I don't have time for that." Right? And so there was no accountability in it, and that just didn't align with my values. And so I shut down that membership program not too long ago, and I had a lot of pushback from a lot of people, telling me, "Oh my gosh, if you're going to be a coach, you have to have this membership program." It felt very abrupt to other people outside of myself. But I'd done the work. I'd worked through, right? I wrote the book and then I lived the book. And I know what my reason is. I know what my strengths, my values, and my passions are. And so when I got to that place where it's like, this seems like a good spot to just shut it down. Thank the people that are still there. In fact, they still have access to all that content. All those people that were with me till the end of that membership program, they still have access to every single bit of that content. And honestly, if they ever reached out to me, I'd be more than happy to help them. But for me, the clarity allowed me to just make that what seemed like a very abrupt decision. And what happened with that is that decision allowed me to have more space. It allowed me to be more intentional and focused on the Masters of Success Mastermind program, where that accountability was happening. People were putting this content into action. We were holding each other accountable, but also creating a space where we could have perspective, and that more closely aligned with who I am. And I was better able to fulfill my reason, the purpose I was put on this earth to do. So I made that decision very quickly, but it didn't come from a place of not having a foundation. So I want to ask you this. What's a decision that you've been avoiding that would create more alignment with you and your business and what you were put on this earth to do? Be honest with yourself. Put it in the comments, right? Step out of your comfort zone a little bit here. What's a decision that you've been avoiding that could potentially create more alignment in your business? And just be open to that, right? So that's number one, is entrepreneurs know how to make decisions quickly because they have that foundation. Number two is entrepreneurs actually create opportunities by what they say no to. And this was a hard one for me. This is something I still cultivate to this day. But the reality is every no makes room for a more meaningful yes. So when we say yes to everything, it keeps us busy. We talked about the hustle culture last week. Saying no to distractions will create focus. And again, we talked about this in a little bit more depth last week on the hustle culture being broken. So you can go back and check that out. But does this move you closer to your vision, or does it just keep you busy? Because sometimes a lot of saying yes is more about being a people pleaser, more about staying in your comfort zone, right? I don't want to, they're asking me, I don't want to have that conversation and tell them no. No feels like this bad word, right? Because I've chased those shiny objects, but I've definitely been a lot more intentional about pausing and just saying no. I actually, at the beginning of each year, I have a no list, right? Very specific things that I'm typically attracted to that I'm going to say no to, right? So I'm already working on what I'm going to say no to in 2026. And as much as I love getting out there and presenting at these shows, if there's not this value exchange, not an opportunity for me to exchange value with the people that I'm sharing with, then I'm going to have to say no to that, right? I'm not just going to speak for the sake of saying I'm a speaker, or whatever, the case may be, whatever ego thing is getting in the way, right? So when we learn to pause and ask questions about what is this really going to do for me? And at that point, right, I get some more sanity, some more clarity, and I feel a little bit more transformed. I feel more aligned with the path. And then that plays into number one. It's easier to make decisions quickly, right? Because people might go, "Oh, hey, Aaron, would you like to do this?" And I'll go, "No, I appreciate the opportunity. Here's what I've got going on, but thank you again for asking. It's just not going to fit right now. Maybe in the future it might work. So please ask me again." And I can, boom, I can do that like that because I know what I need to say no to, and what, because it's just an distraction or me being a people pleaser. So let me give you this little exercise to do here. Take a moment. And since this is recorded, you can go ahead and pause the video after I share this, and just 5 minutes at most, write down 3 things that you can say no to that will give you back your time or focus, right? And here's the caveat. It could be something that you already said yes to. I volunteered for this. I'm going to, right? And you realize, hey, that's great, but it's really not for me. I need to go renegotiate that commitment, right? Because once we made a commitment, yeah, right, we have to follow through on it. But that doesn't mean we can't renegotiate that commitment. So pause this video right now and write down 3 things that you can say no to immediately. All right. So you're back. All right. So let's get to number 3 here. And we're still kind of in the mindset, that this prerequisite mindset that entrepreneurs need here. And entrepreneurs need to figure out how to thrive in risk and challenges. As an entrepreneur, risk is not an option, right? Like you can't go, "Oh, I'm going to be really safe. I'm going to play it safe." It just isn't. You're never going to get anywhere, and you're going to be stuck, and you're not going to have any way to get out of that stuck until you're ready to take some risks, right? And really, if you look at risk and challenges kind of as your tuition, right? It's a learning experience. It's a tuition you pay for growth, because when you have something that's risky, fear is going to show up. And when that fear shows up, most of us look at that as a stop sign, right? I looked at it as a stop sign for a lot of years. I finally realized that fear, because there's a risky thing, right? I'm making this decision quickly. I'm pretty confident, but boy, I can see the opportunities for this to go poorly. I don't really know how to do that. I'm kind of, again, we don't get into faking it till we make it, but I'm willing myself a little bit to get moving here to believe enough to end up achieving that thing. Right. So my mentor, Jack Canfield, says everything you want lies just outside your comfort zone. Right. So all of our successes, all of the growth, all of the opportunities lie outside of our comfort zone. That's why risk and challenges must be something that we're willing to face head on. Right. So think about this. What was the last time fear stopped you? And what feedback can you take from that? Right. Is there a fear in there? And is there a root that maybe you're not addressing? Maybe you're not being truthful enough with yourself yet. Right. So as an entrepreneur, a prerequisite is leaning into risk and challenges and pushing up against your comfort zone to overcome those fears and do the thing anyways. Right. Because when we start treating failure as feedback, as an opportunity to grow, as opposed to an opportunity to beat ourselves up and say, prove to ourselves that we're not good enough, right? That failure, that difficulty, that struggle is just an opportunity for growth, right? I always like to ask myself, what is God trying to teach me right now in this moment, right? Because when we treat that fear of failure as a feedback, as an opportunity to learn, then that fear also starts losing its grip on us. And the next time we come up against a fearful opportunity or a risk or a challenge that's in front of us, we're going to go, "Oh yeah, I remember that fear. It's actually just feedback." It's like, "Hey, what am I learning right now?" And all of a sudden the fear starts to melt away, and it's easier and easier and easier. We just have to be intentional about that. So what's the last time that fear stopped you, and what can you learn from that moment? All right. So those are the first 3 there. Now we're going to get into the strategy for the last 2 of these 5. And when it comes to strategy here, the fourth thing on our list of the 5 prerequisites for entrepreneurships is that entrepreneurs learn how to work smarter, not just harder. Right? I'm a workaholic. Right? I feel like I'm going to an AA meeting. Hi, my name's Aaron Montgomery, and I'm a workaholic. But I know that no matter what, I will never get there out of sheer hustle. Right? Yes, I'm going to work hard, and that's great. But if I don't focus on ways for me to be more efficient, to work smarter, right? I can't live in that hustle season because I've seen it. It's happened to me. I've burnt out. You guys have seen the picture of me in the emergency room in 2018, right? So working smarter means creating more of a rhythm, not chaos, right? How can I make this repeatable? And this is where understanding that entrepreneurship is really about building systems, and those systems must align with who we are. And that's the most important thing that you can do as a small business owner. So at our success group, for example, we've created a structure that we actually use our acronym of our success group, OSG, to also indicate outcome, structure, growth, right? So the way we look at it is, okay, outcome is our first thing. What do you want your business to look like? What is that outcome in the future? And what are your current outcomes, right? Let's compare and contrast those things and find out what the gap is there. And then we lean into the structure. So once we've kind of compared and contrast the outcomes of what we want versus where we're at, now we say, okay, what's the structure that I currently have? All right, what are the systems, the processes, the pricing models, the all of the nuts and bolts of my business? What are the structures that I currently have? And what's missing to get me to that outcome, right? So outcome, structure. And then finally, that's where really it gets exciting, because now we know where we're at, where we want to head, where we're at right now, and what needs to be built to get to that outcome that we want. So now it's time to create that growth plan. So that's the G. So outcome, structure, growth, and the growth plan. So what are you going to do to get from current to where you want to go, right? Is it a marketing situation? Is it more visibility? Is it learning how to share with more passion what you do? Is it clarifying your reason, right? Is it building better relationships? Is it overcoming fear, right? What's the most important part for you to build that growth strategy? And we do that all based on our SVPs, the strengths, values, and passions. And at that point, right, all of those things become more clear. Because when you're trying to do it like somebody else does it, it's going to go, I don't know, right? You're going to get stuck. And I actually had somebody say to me when I was talking them through an area where they were stuck, they're like, Aaron, you make it sound so simple. And I my response is, it is, right? And that's the hardest part. That, I think, to me, that's the most frustrating part. It's so simple that it's hard to grasp onto. But when we are aligned with who we are, the actions that we need to take are going to show up, right? I have to have that faith that they're going to show up. I have to have that faith and confidence in myself. And so entrepreneurs know that they've got to build systems. Again, with our success group, we use the OSG structure. You can reach out to me at consultaaron.com and we can walk through this. I actually do a free assessment for you, and we'll talk about that at the end. But whatever it is, your path to working smarter, that is crucial as an entrepreneur. And then the final prerequisite is entrepreneurs understand that we have to focus, right? We have to prioritize what matters most. Yes, we have lots of things that are required of us throughout the day. Yes, we're wearing lots of hats. Yes, we've got lots of aspirations, lots of dreams. But entrepreneurs that are going to be successful understand that we have to prioritize what's going to matter most, because overwhelmed entrepreneurs, they don't have a time problem. They have a priority problem, right? So most likely, if you're in that place of overwhelm, your priority list, your to-do list is full of things that don't align with who you are. So when we go back to understanding, okay, what matters most, then we can anchor our actions into our purpose and our values. And the interesting part about this to me, and I guess this was kind of my aha moment, is that when I am doing things that are inside of my zone of greatness and aligned and heading towards where the clarity that I've gotten, time expands. Like wow, I can't believe, it's like easy. It's in rhythm. Stress drops, productivity rises, I get more done, right? So whenever I'm stuck, the key is, and this is funny that I'm saying this right now because I was just stuck last week and I couldn't figure out why. And the realization just hit me as I was sharing this, right? I need to put a sign up somewhere that says what matters most, right? Make the most important thing the most important thing, because that's the key. That was the answer, right? What's the most important thing? And so think about the things that you're doing out of obligation that doesn't serve your future self. Again, we talked about renegotiating earlier and what we say no to. Well, this same thing follows suit here, right? If it's not a priority for you, it's time to renegotiate that thing. But first and foremost, understand what that priority is, right? So for me, it's about equipping small business owners with the tools they need to build a business that they love, right? I believe that the business builder program that I've been working on for a while, that I've committed to launching by the end of the year, is most important, right? But I was stuck because I was doing all these other things. And yes, I have other responsibilities or places, but if those things don't align, then I have to renegotiate, right? And so really good stuff there to prioritize what matters. All right. So those are our 5 things. Now, here's the good news, right? We're going to get into action now here at this point. This is the really good news. Everything that we just talked about, every one of these 5 prerequisites is trainable, right? Because I will tell you, growing up all throughout the course of my early adult career, I don't think I had these tools, right? I didn't understand that these were important. And I think, some people can definitely have entrepreneurial tendencies, right? Maybe these 5 prerequisites are a little easier for them. It comes a little bit more naturally to them. But I don't believe in today's current society that we are trained or built or educated or even kind of shown what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And these skills, these 5 prerequisites, are actually skills that we can build through intentional practices, through reflection, and just through consistency. So I want to kind of close out here, and we're going to take some time with this because I want this to be very actionable for you. I want to look at how we can develop each one of these things starting immediately, right? And so the first thing is that entrepreneurs make decisions quickly. And so how do we build that confidence that I talked about to make those decisions quickly, right? And here's, again, the simplicity of this is probably what's so frustrating for most people, and it was for me at least. So start with the small things, right? Big leaps will not work. I've not seen a place where I take this big, huge leap and it's really worked and it's really pushed me forward, right? It is small, incremental reps over and over again, right? You don't wake up one morning and are just magically decisive. You build that muscle by making small aligned choices every day. And so there's a couple strategies here that you can use right away. The first one is to just use the 5-minute rule. When you're faced with a decision, you have a timer ready on your phone or whatever that is for you, and just flick the egg timer over, however that, and 5 minutes. That's all you got. 5 minutes, make a choice and move on. Be okay with that choice. Be open to it. Look for the feedback in it. Just make the choice and move forward, right? And so the point here is really to create momentum of that kind of, again, building that muscles to make those choices quickly. Some of these choices might not work out. It's going to be okay, right? It's not about perfection. This momentum is actually going to give you the information that you need to make better decisions the next time. So that's the first thing that you can do, is just use that 5-minute rule. Next thing is think about your week, right? At the end of the week, just reflect. Ask, what decisions brought me closer to my goal and which pulled me away, right? Which were the ones that didn't turn out as you planned, right? And it's not a way to judge the decisions. It's just a way to gain more data, to gain more information about, What made that different than that? Right? That reflection is really going to start sharpening your intuition. And that 5-minute rule is going to get easier and easier. And you're going to get yourself to a point where, oh, I don't need 5 minutes. I need a moment, right? I need 1 minute, right? I want to gather the data really quick. I can do that in 1 minute and boom. But you're not going to get to that place without reflecting and being honest with yourself about the decisions that you did make the week before. And then last but not least, and this is probably the most crucial part, staying curious, right? As I just mentioned, do not label the results. Do not label outcomes as good or bad. Once you've labeled it, and you guys have heard me say this over and over again, and I will keep preaching this because I think it's so important for us. And it's a reminder for me too, because I am a master labeler, right? And we need that, right? Our brains do that intentionally so that way we can sort more information quickly. But we've got to overcome that in these decisions. We have to stop judging ourselves, good or bad, because when we stop judging and we stay curious and we're just more about, interesting. What does this mean? What's there, without it going, man, I'm such a dummy, or whatever the label that we put on there because things didn't work out exactly as planned. Like I said earlier, God, what are you teaching me right now? Right? That's the question. Because when we start treating these decisions as experiments instead of verdicts, right, end results, that fear loses its grip that we talked about earlier, and then clarity grows much faster than you would expect. So that's how we cultivate number one, making decisions faster. Number two is saying no, right? And this is definitely a hard habit for heart-centered folks like us, people pleasers. Hi, I'm Aaron. I'm a recovering people pleaser. And I'm a bit of an idea junkie too. I like to explore a lot of things, right? And so I imagine most of you have some similar tendencies, but we've got to build that no muscle. And so, as I mentioned before, I create a list of things to say no to, but you also might want to create a list of things to say yes to, and make this a very short list of what gets your full yes immediately, right? What is your main goal? Be very clear about that. What are the relationships that are incredibly important to you? That goes on your yes list. What are the things that are priorities? And then anything not on that list actually can become your no list, a polite no. So that's number one. Have that clarity of, for me, it was I needed to figure out specifically what to say no to. And the opposite of that can be useful as well. Here's what to say yes to. All right. Now, the second thing that we can do to strengthen this discipline of saying no is to have a filter question. So a lot of times we agree to something just out of like an instinct. Like somebody says, "Hey, Aaron, will you do this?" I go, "Sure," without even thinking about it. Right. And so I've had to train myself, and sometimes this does drive Kylene a little bit crazy, but I've found this works throughout the course of everything in my life. When I'm asked something, it's better to ask a clarifying question than it is to respond to the question. Right. And so delay your answer by asking a question. Right. And then you can start internally asking, does this align with my values, my visions, or my goals? And so instead of saying yes on the spot, you can say, let me check, right? Can you tell me a little bit more about it? And get more clarity, right? And so that pause really creates the space to decide instead of react. And so when you start saying no with purpose, you'll notice something very powerful, that your energy comes back. You're going to reclaim control of your calendar and your confidence. And so saying no can be really crucial. And by saying no, you're not being a mean person. You're not hurting somebody else, right? It's on them to figure out how to move that forward. It's not on you to do things for everybody else, right? I love helping people, and I will say yes to a lot of things, but it has to be in alignment. And every time I've said no to something that's out of alignment, right? Initially, I felt bad about it. I'll be honest. But the more I've practiced that, the more I go, sorry, I can't help with that. And then here's what normally happens for me. And this is the wild thing that, I believe God's put it on me here is I then go, oh man, I can't help you with that. And then all of a sudden this idea sparks in my head. And you know what, though? You should talk to so-and-so. That might be more aligned for them, right? Like, or, have you thought about this, right? So I'm not going to actually do the thing, but I am going to help them enough to get them to the next phase, right? So saying no is not a bad thing. All right. All right. Third thing we talked about was understanding that we have to embrace risk and challenge, right? And so if risk makes you sweat, you're not broken, right? You're human, right? Congratulations, you're human like the rest of us. But entrepreneurs figure out how to thrive in that space, right? We don't have to be the one that runs into the fire, runs towards the danger all the time. But when there's something that is in alignment with who you're going to become, what your business is going to become, and it feels risky or it feels challenging, entrepreneurs understand what fear really means, right? And so I want you to try this practice. And I want the first thing that we can do is when that fear shows up is just name it. And again, these things are so simple and they seem kind of obvious and you go, why waste the time? But there is actual science behind this, because when we name the fear, in fact, I want you to literally write it down. I'm afraid this product will flop. I'm afraid nobody's going to show up, right? Because seeing it on paper just shrinks its power. All right. So that's the first part of the practice. Name the fear, write it down. Second part of the practice is to shrink the risk, right? So a lot of times it feels scary because we're trying to make this all or nothing leap. But what about just doing a small test? I'm afraid this product will flop. Okay, well, where can we start, right? Can I offer it to maybe a small group of trusted people at a little bit of a discount to learn more about it, right? Maybe it's a soft launch. Maybe it's I'm not going to spend a ton of time, energy, and money on launching this yet because I'm not sure, but I can share it with one person. I can share it in my Facebook group. I can tell my mastermind group, that type of thing. Maybe you can record just one video before you commit to a YouTube channel, for example, or whatever that risk is. How can I break that down and just take a small first step, right? And then the last part of this practice, so we're going to name the fear, we're going to shrink the risk, and then we've got to reward the attempts, whether or not they work or not. We have to go, I did the thing, period. Right? Celebrate the courage. I did the thing, period. Not, I did the thing and it didn't really work out. Okay, well, now you've just lost any of that celebration of the courage it took to do the thing to begin with, right? And so don't worry about the results. The results will come. The results are byproduct of these actions. But if we don't celebrate, we don't reward the attempt, then we're not going to take enough actions to actually get to that result or see that byproduct, right? So by rewarding each attempt, this trains your brain to seek that growth, not just the safety, right? And as Mr. Canfield says, everything you want is just outside of your comfort zone. So when you make a habit of stepping 1 inch beyond each week, guess what? Your comfort zone starts to expand. And now all of a sudden, the things that you want are inside of your comfort zone. You're going to have those things and you're going to realize, there's even more. So now I'm going to lean up against my comfort zone again. And your comfort zone is going to get so big that you're just comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's where real success lies. All right. So that's number 3. Now, as we get to the strategy here, number 4, here's how we cultivate this idea of working smarter, not harder. And working smarter really is about building a rhythm. When things are moving without you having to put in a lot of willpower or direct effort, that's when you can work smarter, right? So we do this through building some structures, taking some time to reflect, understand what the rhythm is, and saying, here's what works for me, not what works for somebody else. And so an easy way to start this is just simplify your week. Identify just one system or process that can save you time and remove friction immediately, right? I recently did an interview over on Two Regular Guys with somebody talking about automation, right? And he said, the first thing you can do, it's not complicated. have a template of the emails that you send out regularly, right? And like in Gmail, you can set up templates super easy, or you can have a note page somewhere where you write out and then you have little areas where you personalize that to whatever that request is, right? So it's as easy as that. How can we simplify, build one system? And then the next thing we can do is batch our energy, not just the tasks, right? So a lot of times we want to batch tasks together. I'm going to go boom, 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 boom. I've got production to do, so I'm going to try to do all those things together. But we don't also then think about when our energy's high, right? We have times where, yes, I just need I'm going to get some things done, right? I mean, maybe my energy is not really high. I'm not feeling really creative. This is when to do kind of the dirty work, right? Okay, I'm just going to go post on social media here a little bit. I'm going to, here's this thing that I do kind of regularly, almost on autopilot. Boom, can I do that, right? The admin stuff, do that when your energy is a little bit lower. And then when you understand when your energy is higher, that's when you can start doubling your output, the things that are important, the building new processes, the creative development, the marketing, the building relationships, right? You're going to be able to do that a lot faster when you have that place of energy. So batch the energy is the second thing. And then the third thing is use that OSG framework, right? I quickly explained it. We've got plenty of Small Business Saturday episodes where I talk about it more in depth. Comment here or reach out to me and I will point you directly to it, trying to save you time, right? But look at your outcomes, right? Think of OSG, outcome, structure, growth. Look at your outcomes. What are you actually trying to create and where are you at now? And that gap between those two, that's the important piece. Secondly, look at your structures, right? What are the current systems that you have that are supporting the outcomes that you're getting right now? And then what structures or systems are missing that you need to develop to build up to that outcome that you want? And then finally, this is where you make the rubber meet the road, is growth. Okay, so how are you going to build those structures? What's the specific area you're going to focus on first? What's step 1? What's step 5? What's step 10? And then understand that those steps might change along the way. But at least you got step 1. At least you have an idea of what step 5 might be. And hopefully you're looking ahead to step 10 as well. The more structure that you have, and the more those structures then reflect your strengths, your values, your passions, the easier smart work is going to become. So be very consistent with those things. And then the fifth prerequisite here is prioritizing what matters most. So how can we develop that habit? And focus is not a time skill, right? It's a clarity skill. I can't tell you how many times I go, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I sit down, a text message comes through, an email pops up, and 60 minutes later, I'm down the road. And I'm going, man, I never get anything done. Well, I did get a lot done. It just wasn't the right thing, right? And so clarity becomes a skill, right? So it's being intentional with shutting off the notifications, saying, okay, nothing's going to distract me. And you guys have heard me on Small Business Saturdays talk a lot about the idea of out of 7 habits, about the big rocks. And so what I would say is just choose a couple of big rocks, right? Maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3, but when you're reflecting on that week, the next thing to do is choose the big rocks. Make those things really impactful, highlighted on your calendar, notifications for that, not the distractions. Turn off the notifications for the distractions, turn on the notifications for the things that are big rocks. And then the next thing that we can do to better prioritize what matters most is we do have to track our energy. We do have to track where our time is going. And so I talk a lot about doing time studies, and I know a lot of people kind of give it lip service, but how often are you actually doing that? And how often are you really reflecting on what you did the prior week, right? What drained you? What fueled you? And when we start answering those questions and we start tracking those things, doing the time studies, tracking our energy, now alignment and prioritization becomes much, much easier. And then the last piece here is have a future you test, right? And this is as simple as just saying, every time you're confronted with making a decision, should I do this or should I do this? Ask yourself, Will my future self thank me for this, right? This is why I love the Future You party so much, is it gives us an opportunity to really kind of plant ourselves 5 years down the road and experience from an emotional level what it's going to feel like when I've achieved all my goals. And when I think about that future self, and then I come back into my current reality and I say, should I do this or should I say no to that? And then I go, oh, I remember what that future self thought, right? In that moment of being successful. So if I said yes to this, would that future self go, great job? Or would that future self go, are you sure? Right? So if the answer is no, will your future self thank you for this? Then it's a matter of saying, should I delegate this? Should I just defer it? Right? A lot of times for me, I have that thing and I go, man, I should do this. And I go, would my future self thank me for it? And I go, no. And then I go, okay, well, I'm just going to defer that. Right? So I take the due date off of it. And then at the end of the year, I come back to that list and I go, interesting. What could actually jump into the now future self is going to say, yep, let's do that. Right? So we could defer it. And then even better, a lot of times it's just delete it, right? Like, okay, it was a moment where it seemed like a good idea, but the reality is my future self's not going to thank me for it. It's never going to get me closer to my goal. Just get rid of it, right? And celebrate getting rid of it. Just release it, right? You're not losing it, you're releasing it. All right. As you align all of your daily actions with your purpose, you're going to find peace start to replace that pressure, that overwhelm that you feel. And I'll be honest with you, for me, that's when business started feeling fun again, right? When I was stuck, felt the pressure, started releasing that. I said, would my future self thank me for this, right? What is the most important thing? I mentioned that, where I left myself be stuck a little longer than I needed to, but I think that was something that I needed to learn, right? God was saying, hey, okay, we'll let you stay stuck for a little bit longer because you clearly need to learn this focus on what's most important thing. And now I'm saying, thank you. Appreciate that. All right. So I want you to put this into motion. And so I challenge you to practice all 5 of these things, not perfectly. Doesn't have to be exactly right. It doesn't have to spend hours and hours and hours doing this. Just be intentional with all 5 of the things, right? So let's go through those one last time. Make decisions quickly. Say no more often. Reframe risk and challenges as opportunities, as training, as learning moments. Work smarter, not harder. And then make the most important thing the most important thing. Prioritize what matters most. All right. So if you practice all of those things, you're going to be successful. So one more time, here's the challenge for the next 7 days. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Start acting. Do something you've been putting off. Just do it, right? Sorry, Nike, but just do it. Number 2, say no to one distraction. Protect your energy, the obligations that don't truly serve you. So this week, renegotiate that commitment or say no to something. Number 3, do one thing that scares you a little bit. Send that email, make the call, launch the post. That decision you made in number 1, you were probably held back by fear. So use this opportunity now to take action and prove to yourself that you're capable. Right? Number 4, automate or delegate one task. Just free up mental space or get rid of it, delete it. Right? And number 5, identify your top 2, 3, 4, 5 priorities for the week and not just review them at the start of the week, but I want you to look at them every day. So when I plan out my week, I have my list, my priority tasks on that list. And then every morning before I get my day started, I go back to that list and I read through it. And a lot of times I go, oh yeah, whoops, I got caught in something else yesterday. Okay, no problem. I got time to get that done today. I'll make that work, right? And so having it in front of you, right? So some of you might need to take a Post-it note and stick it on your computer monitor. Here's my top 3 things this week. Here's what's most important. Right? In Masters of Success, we have our stretch goals for 2 weeks. I highly encourage all of them to keep those in their line of sight as often as possible. And that's how they're going to get their time back. So write all those things down, track your wins. And then here's the real kicker. If you really want this to go to work for you, share your experience inside the Entrepreneur Success Hub. right? Being accountable is going to amplify your growth. And so if you'll go over to osg.link/group, get in there and say, here are the 5 things that I'm doing this week to grow my entrepreneurial prerequisites, right? And remember, these are skills and not traits, right? So every time that you practice them, every time that you're intentional, every time you hold yourself accountable through sharing with others, you're becoming the kind of entrepreneur who not only builds success, but that success is going to become sustainable for you with joy. So again, join us over at osg.link/group. That's the Entrepreneur Success Hub. Share your progress. When we learn together, we grow faster. And this group here is an 100% underutilized resource, because I will make sure, I promise you, that this group is a safe space. I will moderate the heck out of it if I need to, right? But this group is a safe space to practice what we're talking about here in Small Business Saturdays, in the fundamentals of business success, in entrepreneurship community in general. It's a safe space to work through issues. It's a safe space to collaborate and to celebrate. So if you're not in there posting every day, you're not utilizing a free tool that can get you to your idea of success, right? Simple as that. I hate to be so blunt, but the reality is it's as simple as that. If you're not in there posting every day, you're underutilizing a hugely valuable free resource. And there's plenty of other things happening in the Facebook group that will inspire you as well. The Entrepreneur Success Hub right now, we've got a 30-day gratitude challenge going on where we reflect on everything we're grateful for in this Thanksgiving season. And I know the prompts are there for you to reflect, but I would highly encourage you to then put what you're grateful for when it comes to that, right? We were grateful for a learning opportunity last week, and other people put, a couple people, not enough, right? We need more. So get in there. What are you grateful for this Thanksgiving season? So again, if you're not already in the group, this is a place you need to be. It's osg.link/group. Jump in. And then while you're in there, keep your eyes open. I'm about to announce, probably sometime this week, announce something I'm really excited about, that most important thing that I talked about. It's a brand new Fundamental Business Builders program. And I'm taking the first 13 businesses that want to rebuild their foundation so they can fall deeper in love with what they get to do every day. And when they're falling in love with what they get to do each day, they're going to reach their business goals faster. So we're going to help install systems, rhythms, clarity, and really build a business that not only serves their community, but serves them as a person, and not the other way around. So I've got a few spots that are already spoken for through the mastermind programs that I'm already running, and also the work that I'm doing with American Print and Supply right behind me right here. And so of those 13 slots, we only have a few remaining. So if you are interested, make sure that you're in the group, keeping your eyes peeled. Or you can also send me a message. I would encourage you to send me a direct message as well. And stay tuned. And I want to make sure that if that's something that you're interested in, that you get to be a part of it. And then finally, if you want to talk one-on-one with me about anything, clarifying your journey, anything, you can always connect with me at consultaaron.com. There's a number of easy ways to connect with me. Plus, on that page, there's some added valuable links. I want to give you as much value as I can give you. So make sure that you have that bookmarked as well, consultaaron.com. All right. Well, next week, we're going to take this idea of alignment one step further, because once we've built this mindset, we have these prerequisites that we're working on. The next challenge is seeing beyond your own perspective, right? Like, I can only go as far as what I know. And so I want to unpack how the same words can mean completely different things depending on which side of the story you're on. And you're going, okay, that sounds great in the political climate that we're in, but what does this do for my business? Well, small business owners who lead with empathy, not ego, are going to have a much greater perspective than small business owners that are so blinded by their own perspective that they don't see the creative solutions. So, in fact, I've got an amazing visual for you that's going to hit you right in the stomach. That's what it did for me. So I think it's going to do the same thing for you. So you guys don't want to miss that. And I can't wait to talk to you next week. Here's a little bit more information about the group, and then I will talk to everybody next week. Have an amazing day.
Hey, business owners, have you lost some of that spark in your business? Or maybe you love what you get to do and you want to share that joy with others. Either way, the Entrepreneur Success Hub is the community you've been looking for. In this group, we believe that every question is worth asking and your voice matters. Whether you're facing challenges or ready to celebrate successes, we've got a space for you to learn, grow, and connect with like-minded entrepreneurs. Join us for weekly video shows like the Rising Tide Talks and Small Business Saturdays. Also, get the latest announcements for our webinars and other educational content, all designed to help you fall in love with your business all over again. Plus, in the group, we've got fun challenges like our Gratitude Challenge and other resources to keep you inspired and focused on what matters most. Plus, you'll be part of a growing community of supportive business owners who understand what you're going through. Get into the group, be engaged. This is your space to ask questions, share experiences, and rediscover the joy of entrepreneurship. Head to osg.link/group and join the Entrepreneur Success Hub today. Together, we'll fall in love with our business and achieve our goals.
Dark days, overwhelmed, trapped in a maze. Small business owner, stress had me in a daze. Every problem piled up, couldn't catch a break. Thought I couldn't make